man, this comic book sucks. And the reviews online said it was good. I wasted my money. Why didn't somebody tell me? Hey, we're back. We got more comic reviews for you. And coming out of the winds of yesteryear. A flash of flash. You know what? I can't remember all of the intro. I just remember hearing that music as a kid and being so taken with it. And I was always like, "Oh, that's the Lone Ranger theme." They're like, "No, that's the William Tell overture." I was like, "Well, it should be the Lone Ranger theme." Okay, so this is my pick for the week, at least for it to review. And I have to say that I was very, very, very satisfied with this. With the caveat that I know a lot about the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet, and some inside baseball about it is that the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet are actually related. That the Lone Ranger is actually his great uncle, and the Green Hornet is a descendant, so they actually keep, there's some really nice parallels in there that you get if you understand the connection between the two characters.
Now, is that actually true?
Yeah, that's actually true.
How did that come out? I don't even know how that came about. How did they get connected?
Long story short, they just decided they were going to have this new character, and the new character was a descendant of the Lone Ranger. And you can see all the parallels, because you have the Lone Ranger, and the Green Hornet is like a little bit closer to what give them like a little bit more of something like adjectival, like what the comics would go. But the Lone Ranger had silver, the Green Hornet had blue, Black Beauty, the automobile. The Lone Ranger had Tonto,
and then Kate.
Green Hornet had, the Green Hornet had Kato.
Okay,
So it was a lot of good, a lot of nice parallels over here. One of the reasons I really wanted to do this is because Dynamite really knows how to tell the stories of these characters from yesteryear. Zorro. Well, actually, they did really one really bad Zorro story, which I've never forgiven them for. But Zorro, Doc Savage, their Flash Gordon run was excellent. Excellent. Anyone who didn't like the film, and you have to be a really uptight person not to like the Flash Gordon film. Oh, it was campy. Go to hell. It was fun. It was fun from start to finish. But if you didn't like that, they did the Flash Gordon comic, and that was the movie. It was the movie. They just took it seriously. They said, okay, we're going to take all that, all that extraneous humor and all the implied humor. We're taking all of that out. We're going to play it straight. Really good run. So Dynamite really knows how to do these characters of yesteryear.
What about the Spirit, the Shadow?
Well, they can only do the characters they can get licensed for, and they're not going to get licensed for the Spirit for obvious reasons. They do have
the Spirit.
I haven't seen anything to do with the Spirit, but the Shadow.
They did a nice Spirit. They have done a nice Spirit.
Didn't catch that one. I didn't catch that one. But the Shadow, yes. Tarzan, Sheena, good stuff all around. Good stuff all around.
I thought you were going to go the other way with that, but okay.
No, they did good stuff all around. So you come in here. The only caveat I have, and this is the second issue, so it's not too far in. So even if you miss the first one, there's not so much going on. And then they even have a really nice, what is this? Come on, University, come back to me. It'll come back to me anyway. I'll get to that later. But you can get into the story very, very quickly, so long as you're willing to read it. The art, I can't say the art is an eye grabber. The pencils are very loose. They're very phoned in.
Really
I think it's it's a real disservice because the story is so strong. The story is really good because you have this guy who's like, look, I want to transition. I want you to be the Lone Ranger for this generation. And the guy of the generation says, okay, I'll do that, but I'm going to be the Green Hornet. I'm not going to be the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
And the Lone Ranger's PO'd about it. He's like, no. He's like, you don't need to do this. You need to do what I did. So you have that good generational conflict, which always goes for good storytelling, but you also have two guys who are very much the same type of hero. Because the Lone Ranger, contrary to popular belief, was an outlaw. He wasn't doing any of this stuff being sanctioned. Okay, he would come in and do it, everything that he saw fit, but we knew he was the good guy. He was on the white horse, and of course, who was that masked man? And if you were in trouble, he'd leave you with the silver bullet and solve all of your problems. So, hey, I had a really good time with it. Really good time with it.
Well, for me, I would say the art was really, they always say that, good story can't save bad art. And that was it was hard to follow at times. The opening scene was it Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah.
I was able to follow that because they list all of the historical characters in there.
Yeah, it's a very good scene.
And then as it goes along, and with the time jumping, then I was finding myself falling out of the story. So there's a ton. I mean, this was Mike Olson. He's he's either been connected to some heavy stuff or has done some things. So he's been around comics for who knows how long. But at the same time, with the art being not as clean, that's what was making it hard for me to stay with it. I mean, everything that he's pointing out, that Cal is pointing out as far as the connection between the Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger, that points was good. But this with the art was like, I can't make up this character here. Is this Kato? I'm not sure.
If you look at the detail for that cover, just of the horse.
Oh yeah.
If you had transferred that into the book, it just makes for a much more rewarding read. I mean, there have been times when the story, because I've read a lot of Alan Moore stuff where I think that the guys he chooses as artists are like, I don't know how this guy got the gig, but the story is usually good enough where I ignore everything else. It might as well just be stick figures and I can go with it. This story is not strong enough. It's just not strong enough. The art has to coincide with it in order to come along. And it's such a good story. I mean, one of the things I look at is that you have certain time periods where you have all of these guys who are these greats, and they just all seem to be around at the same time. Where you have Teddy Roosevelt, you'll have Jesse Owens, and then you'll have Wild Bill, Bill Cody, all the other characters who are sitting down. They'll talk about Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson, Black Bart, all of those guys. But it always seems that they're of this particular generation. That generation fades, and then it's like another epoch or so before you finally get, we'd be really hard pressed to pull together all the greats of this particular people. We have people who are famous, but they're not great along those sorts of lines. So that's what also makes it a really good story, because you have these things that were happening at the time that have now become mythical. You have the Mob, Murder Inc. They play on that. There's a lot of good stuff to draw on, and at the same time, you still have this great mix of the factual and the fictional, but they're all mythical. The Lone Ranger, the Green Hornet, they're all mythical. And again, if you're somebody who's followed the stories, great. But if you saw the Green Hornet film with Seth Rogen,
why would you even go to this?
Because before I read this, I was watching The Lone Ranger. I finally got around to watching it, and within the first
movie one, how was it?
Oh, that was terrible. Within the first 5 minutes, he's like, "How did you screw this up?" The Lone Ranger story is a Western revenge story. He gets his whole family, his brothers are all killed. He survives. Tonto comes and nurses him back to health, and then he goes on revenge as this masked ranger who's gonna do justice where he sees fit. That's the story. They decided, let's throw Johnny Depp in there and make it a comedy. You're like, who makes these decisions? And then they throw like hundreds of millions of dollars, or rather, let me say tens of millions. They throw tens of millions of dollars after this. It was horrible. Well, and then you look at what Seth Rogen did with the Green Hornet.
That has to be much worse than.
You know what? They're neck and neck. They're neck and neck, because Seth Rogen's is like an apology piece where he's gonna, because the Asian character was treated badly, so I'm gonna, the Asian guy's gonna be the straight man, and I'm gonna be the fool. He's gonna get to slap me. I was like, but did you ever watch any of the original Green Hornet episodes? Because Bruce Lee's character Kato was not like that whatsoever. Okay, he was like, Bruce was really happy with the role. He was like, no, this is a good role for me.
Yes.
This is a pretty good role. So. This, if you get a chance to read the comic, it can dispel a lot of the stuff that you may look at, because you'll think, these are all comedies.
Oh, okay.
This is some nonsensical stuff, and I'm like, no, these were straight guys. These were straight heroes that there was humor, but they weren't playing things up for laughs. This wasn't Sad Sack or Wild Bill, or Pecos Bill, those animated things. So I really like the fact that they say, okay, this is what the story is. We're going to give it to you, and they've been very successful. The Lone Ranger, as a comic, has been in print now for well over 10 years through Dynamite. So it shows that it is viable. But these guys just, outside of it, they need to take the guys who are doing these stories and bring them over, and then hopefully they could also say, let's give this, who's doing the art. Let's just bring them into a room and say, hey, look, if you don't want to draw the next issue, we will find someone who will. But you can't phone this stuff in. Not when the story is this good.
Well, that's funny. I would want a cleaner artist so I can understand what was going on, because I really, after the Teddy Roosevelt scene, I was kind of lost. And with the jump, I was like, there's stuff that I liked. I was like, when they get, is it Black Bart? When they get caught and then they jump to the next scene, I was like saying, No, I want to see more of this. So that scene was
Yeah,
kind
then
of.
they just dropped you. And
Yeah,
then they just left you in the
so-
present. You're like,
so
hey, what
that's-
happened? Well, I
so-
guess he lived.
So yeah, that would be my complaint. It kind of threw me out the story. So we got to give our scores. What are you giving them?
4, baby.
Wow.
Count them. 4. I can't give it a
Wow.
5 because of the art and because PD makes a very valid complaint that if you're going to do the flashbacks, they have to balance out. Okay, flashback into something into the future, but they just kind of left you high and dry there.
Yeah.
You know, that's really not cool. But other than that, this is a 4.
I'm going to give you guys. I'm going to give it a 2. I would say the points of reading it, yes, but this is very hard to follow.
Oh, why?
So,
Why,
I'm
Lord?
sorry.
Why? Why?
But I mean, I think something that this type of story, you got to pick someone, find sort of the artist that are like that can tell this. Just a real clean artist that can do this. We need to see. There's so much detail in this story. We can't miss anything. So
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. So you can split the difference on the two of them.
yep.
You split the difference on the two. There you are. So this is one. Hey, I can't say you go buy it. You pick it up off the rack. You thumb through it. And you go,
we don't do that.
You
We
thumb
don't
through it?
sanction that. You don't do that.
You thumb through it. And
You
you
don't
decide
do
if you're
that.
gonna, you decide if you're going to buy it.
Either take these reviews and buy it or not.
Everybody does.
Look at the cover, maybe open it up, but we know the comic stores, we know you guys don't want that to happen. They're not doing it. They're not doing it.
That's why I wear the mask. I can say what I like. Who was that mask man?
Yeah, there we go.
We'll see you next time. We got more reviews coming up for you after a short commercial break. Oh, that's right. We don't have commercials. We're out.
We're out.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Spinnerack.
Spinnerack.
You saved me money.